Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Ryan and this is Game Essays. Normally this channel is mostly focused on Nintendo games, particularly Zelda, but Elden Ring was just such a phenomenal game that I thought it would be fun to rank the bosses of Elden Ring. So if you're coming in and you're just mainly a fan of Elden Ring, but you do like Zelda, I highly suggest you check out some of my other videos on the channel. So this is going to be ranking the Elden Ring main bosses from a filthy casual's perspective. I did beat Dark Souls 1, I played a lot of Dark Souls 2, but I really haven't gotten too deep into the other games, and I plan to do that now that I've completed Elden Ring. I already started my playthrough on Dark Souls 3, so I do really enjoy FromSoft games, but again, I am no expert, so when I'm talking about these fights, did I use Mimic Tier plus 10? Heck yes, not on all the fights because I didn't have it by that point at some of these fights. But yeah, I used Mimic Tier on a lot of these, and I used techniques like Rotten Breath. I had a Faith build, so I was able to do like fireballs, but also I had a Scythe, so I was doing some melee as well. So it's a little bit mix and match depending on the fight. But yeah, I did these fights pretty casually, so I don't really care what people want to, like, if people want to try to roast me in the comments, whatever, it doesn't bother me, whatever. I am replaying the game and doing a melee build without summons and stuff just to see how I fare, but nevertheless, this is going to be exactly as the title says, from a casual perspective. So let's get into it. I'm just going to go in, I guess, this order. I have didn't fight because there are some optional bosses that I just missed or just never got around to. But we'll start with Ranala, Queen of the Full Moon, and I'm going to give this an A tier because I think presentation alone, it looks really cool. And again, I said I come from like a Zelda background. The first phase of this fight very much feels similar to like a Zelda type boss fight where you have to attack the students that have like the glowiness around them to break her shield, and you can go in for the attack. So it felt very Zelda-like. And then the second phase, I actually didn't even know she summoned spirits because I was just up in her face, just smacking her with the scythe and got her down before she was ever able to summon a spirit, thankfully. So it definitely gets a little bit trickier with the spirits in the second phase, but I definitely got lucky there. Godric the Grafted is honestly going to be another A tier fight. This is one that it probably didn't take me as long as a fight like Margit did, but it did take me a while because at the beginning of the game, my weapon really was not great. And so I kept trying this fight and having a rough time. And, you know, I was learning his moves and stuff, but his phase 2 really messed me up and I wasn't doing a ton of damage and I was struggling to survive his phase 2. Eventually I was able to get that scythe that I mentioned and upgrade it a little bit. And I was finally starting doing like reasonable damage that I was able to get through this fight. And it felt very rewarding to win this one. So I definitely think it's a great fight. And A tier I think is an awesome spot for it. Commander Nile is going to be a D tier for me. This is the only fight, well, one of the few fights where I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I tried, you know, with my Mimic Tier and everything, but the two knights that he summons are just so aggressive and in your face. And those guys were really messing me up most of the time before I even got to like 1v1, which granted, even 1v1, he's still very difficult, but it was just one of those fights that felt so cheap. And I really just wanted to get past him because I knew that's how I got to the like snow grounds, the lower snow grounds. I needed that medallion thing. So I ended up cheesing the hell out of this fight and doing the thing where you go to the outside and you just shoot him with arrows until he's dead. Super cheese, super cheap. But this fight it just brought me to a point where it's like, I feel like this is not even worth doing. Loretta, Knight of the Helig Tree. I would say this is probably a C tier fight. It just ends up being kind of a clone of the other fights we've seen before, like the Tree Sentinel, but more specifically the one in the manor. I want to say it's like Carrion Manor or something. It's very similar to that. So by the time you get to this, like some people will not even get here until after they've beaten the game, that it just is kind of unimpressive. Red Wolf of Radagon. I think this is a solid B tier fight. It's pretty cool. It's no Sif from Dark Souls 1, but it's a very fast, aggressive magic dog or wolf, which is pretty sweet. But it ends up kind of just being over before you know it. But yeah, the cool thing is, because it's super aggressive, that it's nice that it doesn't have a lot of health. I think it's an awesome boss before the main boss, though. Godskin Apostle. I think this is another pretty solid, cool fight. The music is great. This is probably another B tier for me. I didn't find this particular Godskin Apostle until like super late in the game, although I had fought in another one in like another random catacomb or tunnel or something, cave. I don't remember where, but it's a solid fight. It's a solid B tier for me. This Elemer of the Briar, I think he's somewhere in the Atlas Plateau, if I'm not mistaken. He's like in a castle. I started that area, I think, that he's in, and didn't end up finishing it, so I didn't fight it, so I'm not going to rank it. Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy. This one, I struggled for a bit, and I'm gonna put it, just because of it's an amazing set piece. I'm gonna still I'll put it on like the high B tier. Some people might really disagree with me on this, but so I just have a unique story with this fight, because I got to where this fight was, and I got into the room, and you grab like the serpent weapon. And then I think I did one attempt where I actually didn't even switch to the weapon. And I was like, okay, it was like late night. I'm going to come back tomorrow. And I totally forgot about the gimmick weapon for the fight. So I was trying with my regular weapon for forever and was stuck on the first phase, until eventually I realized, like, after like struggling and looking up strategies, because I'm like, why is nobody else talking about this fight? And it was obviously because everyone was using the gimmick weapon and probably taking it down within like 3 tries. So eventually I was able to get that weapon and get through it. But yeah, I think it's a really cool set piece. Again, you have the gimmick weapon, and there's a couple ways you can fight it. You can go from a distance, because the power of the weapon, it can like actually shoot like magic. But then also you can just like gear up, be all tanky and fat rolly, and literally just walk up and tank the lava and just smack him around, and he can't hit you with anything. So it's pretty cool. Maybe it's an A tier, but I'm gonna leave it at B tier for now. Fire Giant. I feel like Fire Giant for me is an A tier. It's cool. It took me a few tries, but it was definitely one that I felt pretty accomplished completing. The second phase is a little bit tough, and it does get annoying when he keeps rolling over and over again, but it's a really cool giant fight that I feel like there's a lot of giant fights that aren't done right, but this one was definitely done in a really cool and interesting way. The fact that he keeps rolling means you can't just stay under his legs the whole time, and obviously he eventually isn't completely standing anymore, but it's a really cool, interesting fight. And just that move he has with the shield where he like shovels up snow is super hard to avoid, but you really have to worry about that at like the very beginning of the fight. Valiant Gargoyles, I thank everything that I didn't do this fight, because I've seen other people do it, so it's just under didn't fight. Mimic tier, some people might put it as a C tier, but it's fun. It's super easy, but I love the concept of it, and it's really fun, so I will put it at a B tier. Godskin Noble, I'm just not a fan of this guy. This one's a C tier for me. He's just really annoying. You fight him a few times, but obviously the picture is showing like where you fight him in that cathedral or whatever. He's just like in your face. He's no like, I know they try to make these guys like Ornstein and Smo, but they don't hit that for me. And yeah, this guy's just really annoying. I much prefer fighting the Apostle over the Noble. Godfrey, I think he's got to be an S tier. The first S tier on this list. Both phases are crazy. And yeah, the way he stomps the ground, like he's just a badass. And this fight's intense as all hell, and it's a good time. It's tough, but it's one of those tough fights that you want to like keep going in for more. It doesn't feel cheap or anything at all like that. It's just a really cool, fight before the final fight. This is Crucible Knight and the the Misbegotten. Dude, I did this one super late. I would imagine I would like this a lot. I'm gonna put it in C tier. I imagine I would like this a lot less if I was not overpowered by the time I got to this fight, because I just didn't come back for it until way later. Margit the Felloman is definitely an S tier. This is, the gatekeeper boss of the game, but I think it is so well done that it doesn't feel cheap. At first it does, because Margit just it goes against all your initial instincts when you're playing this game, but it's one where it's like, I don't think I beat Margit until like 10 hours into the game. It took me so long, but it was so rewarding to finally take him down. So it's just absolutely great. It's just one of those fights where like you're gonna try a few times, you're gonna fail, you're gonna go get stronger, and you're gonna come back for more, and you're gonna hope you can do it, and you're gonna fail again, and then you're gonna leave, and you're gonna come back for more. But it was a great feeling. Star Scourge Radagon. Some people would probably make this an easy S tier. For me, the set piece is incredible. Yeah, it's an S tier. It's probably a lower S tier for me than most people. Because, if you're not like a pure melee build, I feel like maybe you don't get as much out of it. But it just didn't feel like it was worth it for me to do any close range combat with him. And it was more about like, summoning the guys to distract him so I can get a few hits in. And that was a little annoying, so it goes a little bit lower on the S tier for me for that, because I don't know, it didn't feel like my build was the right build to like fully appreciate it. But the spectacle of it, I totally get the spectacle of it. It's incredible. The meteor he comes down in, and his phase 2, I feel like there was some BS, like his meteor stuff that he shot at you just did so much damage. It felt a little BS to me. Nevertheless, I'll still put him in S tier because of what a spectacle it is. Lich Dragon, I didn't fight this particular Lich Dragon. Dragon Lord Plasudasax, I think it is. This one's probably in A tier for me. It's, again, a very cool spectacle. I was probably a little too overpowered by the time I got to him, because I obviously didn't realize... I didn't fight him until after I beat the game, because it's a very hidden boss, and I had no idea the boss even existed until after I beat the game and was looking up things that I missed. But yeah, it's really cool. There's some... I think because I had seen other people play him, I knew to, like, when he flies at you, like, to dodge him and stuff. But there's a lot going on, and it's pretty cool. Morgott, the Omen King. This guy was probably one of the top bosses that took me the longest to beat, besides probably his first form Margit, just because you're so new to the game at that point. But I think it's another S tier fight. There's just so much going on. He's throwing so much at you in that second phase. But it's really cool to kind of get another crack at him, but he does not mess around in that second fight. Mog Lord of Blood. This one, again, I was probably way too overpowered by the time I got to it. I would probably put this in the A tier, though. It's still very solid. I love kind of the lore behind it, the spectacle, and how hidden this boss is in the game. Malekith the Black Blade. This one was probably the one that took me, besides maybe Margit, the most attempts to beat. I found this one to be very, very difficult with the way that he can lower your health pool and his bleeding effect on you or whatever that hurts your health. It's still a really awesome fight. It's probably, I put it up in the A tier, for sure. And Fia's Champions, I did not end up doing. I guess there's a quest you have to do for that. Radagon in the Elden Beast. This is another S tier. I don't know if it's number one. Maybe I'd put Margit as number one, honestly. I don't know. I'm going to put Radagon in the Elden Beast. I love this fight. It's really tough, and the way I ended up beating it, literally, I died as I was killing the Elden Beast. That's how close of a call it was. But I think both phases are incredible. Some people maybe might find the Elden Beast disappointing, but it's one of those ones where you just have to learn the dance for both of these. And they're two very different types of fights, but I think they are both really epic. And yeah, the Elden Beast fight is so interesting. There's so many mechanics that I actually found really fun in the Elden Beast fight. There's a few really annoying ones, like when it's flying up and then it's shooting all these laser beams down at you. And there's that other one where it seems like the holy beams like never stop chasing you, and they keep like circling you or whatever. Those are really annoying, but other than that, it's so much fun. It is a little annoying how much it runs away, but it really just makes you learn all the mechanics so you can get as much damage in as possible. Godskin Duo is a D tier fight. This is just one of those ones, like, I've done Ornstein and Smo without summons or any of that back in the day, and the way that Ornstein and Smo worked really, like, complemented each other, that the fight made sense because it was built as a 2v1. Whereas this is like they took two 1v1 bosses and just threw them in the game and made you fight both of them, and it's really annoying that even if you beat one, you only have a little bit of time before it comes back. They have that shared health bar, so I just think it's probably the worst fight that they made in the game, and I wish that they maybe made like a second version of both of these guys where they complemented each other for that duo fight. We'll save Malenia for last. Regalester Spirit, I think that's just an S tier fight purely on atmosphere, music. It's just a different fight. It's not like it's supposed to be the most difficult fight. I think it's just a really cool atmospheric fight. Magma Worm, Makar, I think it's perfectly fine in the C tier. I didn't really fight these guys too much. I think I only ended up killing one. There was one I found in the volcano area, and I just didn't even bother fighting it again, but then I fought the one that's on your way up to the Atlas Plateau. And then we got the Misbegotten guy. I think he's another good, just he's just like a C tier fight. Like, he's fine. I think I beat him on my first try when I got to there. He was fine. Okay, Flying Dragon, Akil. I think this is the first dragon that you fight. It's a pretty cool fight, although it's pretty much like all the other dragons, but I think it's good. I think B tier is great. It just is a little bit disappointing when you get to the other dragons. You're like, okay, they all work like this, except they just have different breath or whatever. So, yeah. And then we have the all-knowing, what's his name? Sir Gideon Onfer, the all-knowing. I feel like I was way too OP for this guy. He'll get a B tier just because he does have so many moves, but I just absolutely annihilated this guy. Again, I said filthy casual. I'm using Rotten Breath Mimic tier. This guy was a joke with that strategy. So yeah. Dragonkin Soldier, I actually did not fight. Estelle, Natural Born of the Void. I think this is a pretty cool fight. I would probably put this in A tier. It's very unique and interesting, and there's a lot of another one of those kind of cool atmospheric fights, and is obviously part of the Rani quest. And then the full-grown Falling Star Beast. I was not a huge fan of this guy. I'd put him in the C tier. And then Malenia, Blade of Mikel, the hardest boss in the game. Of course, I was cheap in this fight. I was using the Blasphemous Blade and using that fire attack and just knocking her down. Mimic tier plus 10, all that good stuff. I couldn't use Rotten Breath though. Couldn't use that cheap technique. So she took one of my cheap tactics away from me. Yeah, this one took me quite a few tries, even with me being a cheap person with this one. It's like, I don't know if I want to call it S tier because everyone talks about her waterfowl technique or whatever, and it is really BS and very, very tough to dodge, but I think everything else just makes it so super cool, so I will still put it as an S tier fight, although it would be... yeah, it would be just, you know, maybe on the lower end of S tier for me, just because, yeah, that one technique is just like, it's so difficult to dodge that you almost don't even want to learn to dodge it. And I think most people haven't learned to dodge it, they just end up tanking it. They run away and they tank as much as they can. So that is my tier list for all the main bosses in Elden Ring. Definitely let me know if you've played it, what, you know, how you would rank the bosses. If you enjoy Nintendo and other Zelda content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and check out some of my other tier lists as well as other videos. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.